Hello, I'm Kyle. Welcome to Give Pause Hobby, the channel where I stop to appreciate the things I love to fill my free time with. Today, I'm so incredibly excited to talk about this topic. It's been a long time coming because it's still an ongoing project. And what I'm talking about is what I have affectionately referred to as Project Jumpstart. But you see box 1 there because Project Jumpstart is actually 3 of these right now. This is Kyle from the future, just letting you know I'm going to be talking about proxies in this video. We're just out of like a 3 or 4 week feud on at least one of the Magic Facebook groups I'm in about proxies. I just want to give you a heads up. If you are someone who has absolutely zero taste for proxies, I'm not here to fight you about it. I just want to let you know that it's going to come up. So doesn't have to. You can do this all legit. But the way I've done it is not necessarily all legit. On the up and up, but they're not all official, like printed Wizards cards. So it's giving you a heads up. I realized I didn't talk about this till like the second half of the video. So back to past Kyle. Let's get into it. What is Project Jumpstart? For you Magic players out there, this is my way of getting a taste of Magic without necessarily getting fully back into Magic. I've talked about this, my timeline with Magic before. I used to play pretty regularly, starting with Ravnica, like original Ravnica, up through Shards of Alara. And then I finished my undergrad, and I didn't want to re-find a game group when I went to my master's, and I just kind of let it sort of sail off into the sunset. Still kept all my cards. That's critical. So then time goes by. There have been moments where I thought I might get back into Magic for certain sets, and just like never did. And in the meantime, like as Magic went, like it wasn't like it was just like a sudden chop, like cold turkey stop of playing Magic. And then what has like overtaken it has been the steady increase in my board game playing over that time. And so throughout, like ever since then, I've always been on the look for something to give me the feeling of Magic without necessarily the other side of the hobby, which was just like the constant tinkering of decks, which I loved, but it got to a problematic level where like it was just constantly going, not even like in a background task, but like at the front of my brain. And again, I really enjoyed my time, but I don't necessarily need to clamor back to that type of playing. So this is Project Jumpstart, and inside here I have many individual sections for these themes. Now, Project Jumpstart is the name that I gave to it. Jumpstart is the official product name of the potentially now defunct-ish like arm of the Magic IP, and this was started in 2020, and it was intended to be, or it is, a format where you take 2 20-card packs, you open them up, whatever the themes are, mix them together, you play. Now there are other things you can do. You could draft the packs, you could, find out, or you could do them blind. You could open a sealed set of them, 2, 3, 4, however many, and make a deck out of that. But you play, and they're themes like, sometimes as sensible as goblins and angels, sometimes vehicles or lands, or think again. Lots of different names. And so they're 20-card, like self-contained little themes, like they say, which include roughly 12 cards, like spells of some sort, and then 8 lands. And that's usually 7 basic and 1 thriving insert thing here, more bluff, whatever, just to help with the mana fixing, because typically they would be dislike colors. You can have monocolored ones, and then you never have to worry about getting the right mana, but it's essentially taking a deck where your idea of like a mana base is just splitting it in half and having 2 fixers in there. to help out a little bit. And then you click play and you go. So it was designed to be just like this really fast to the table sort of format, and there's like a little bit of concepts of how to make it into like a tournament potential. I don't know if there ever like actually were Jumpstart events. I'm sure there, well, I shouldn't say I'm sure there were, because it was 2020. For those of us who lived through that, we know there wasn't a lot of stuff going on. So what is this Project Jumpstart? Why don't I just call it Jumpstart? Why don't I just call it my Magic collection? Because I have bucked the trend that seems like the Jumpstart product was the secondary trend, or the aim of the product, which was, have the experience and then just have more cards. And when I heard about Jumpstart, coming at it as a board gamer, I thought, holy crap, this is like Magic Smash Up. For those who have played the board game Smash Up, you also have a bunch of self-contained decks, but they're like aliens, ninjas, dinosaurs, things like that, and you randomly or non-randomly get two of them, mix them together, and boom, that's your deck. So they'll have not only themes, but like mechanics that each of those different like archetypes have. And so then you'll have the ninja dragons, which will be different than the ninja aliens or whatever. And at the end of the game, shuffle or unshuffle them because they have their little icons in the corner, and then you're good. So in 2020, I was super excited for this because, again, I had been chasing down the high of playing Magic for a long time, and to no result. There were games that came close, but I found that in order to make the most of them, like, you wanted to have a rule set that people came to the table like somewhat understanding, and what it led to was just like more experiences where, as the habitual table nanny, I was just teaching the thing and playing it, and I just knew more about it because I had to learn it and try to introduce it to multiple people, and it never really took off. And so I was like, an opportunity to have what I've been trying to do, but with Magic, which is a game that I currently know a ton of people who are lapsed Magic players who have stepped away from the game. Maybe they play Arena, or maybe they don't play at all, like I hadn't. And then I know some people who are still playing this day, and I was like, this would be amazing to have a collection of these that I could slowly build over time. And then when we want to sit down, when I'm perusing the rest of my board game collection, and say, oh, do we want to play some Magic? And they'd be like, I haven't played Magic in years. I don't have any decks. And I say, good news, I have a bunch. But I open up my, this is back in 2020, I bought 4 of them. With my mask, I went to a mall. It was super quick to sell out those first months, and I was lucky enough to get 4 of them. I opened them up, and I got 2 black themes and 2 green themes, and one of them was Garrick, and I was like, oh man, that's so cool, because I left Magic when Planeswalkers were really starting to take hold. And I was like, great, I have a little bit of stuff here. 2 greens, 2 blacks. I wish it was a little bit more varied, but the whole idea was to, build the collection over time. But the killing blow was when I opened them up, so it's like the outer shell, like the normal packaging, and then like the inner shell, because you could see the name of the theme. So you could see like this, Feathered Friends, and or whatever the theme was, because some of them actually do have some variance in them. If they're rare, there's only one version of that theme. So like the Planeswalker themes, there's only one. If it's uncommon, there are 2. And some of the changes can be pretty huge. And then if there are common themes, which I think Feathered Friends actually is, there are 4 different ones. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so just because you see it's Feathered Friends, you didn't necessarily know which one it was. And then you have to open that up and find. So again, different levels of drafting. You could blind, you could open it up to see what the theme is, or you could open it up and actually look through it and see, oh, this is Feathered Friends 3 or whatever. It has these cards. So I open it up, super excited, haven't really flipped through Magic cards in many years at this point, and I realize, I'm like, hang on a second, what is the unshuffling mechanic? And I'm looking all over the cards, and it's like the normal art stuff. It tells me that it's uncommon, it tells me, you know, this card I'm holding right now is, you know, number 61 of 274 cards in the set, name the little like code for the set, and copyright. Nothing else aside of that. Now, you know, mana, like, you know, this one I just grabbed a blue card. So if I had a blue and a red theme that I mixed together, most of the cards I would know where they go. Obviously, the ones I wouldn't were artifacts or of any type, or non-basic lands, which there are some in this format. And so I was like, are you serious? And so if I mix the two green themes that I had together, again, at the time I had 4, which is not like, you know, that gives me some variance of the matchups I could have, but that means 2 of the matchups are completely non-workable, because I'm not going to mix my 2 green themes together and like have a printout of where the cards go. And I was just super angry, and I sold off the themes and I left it. And I said, well, this is stupid. But I just like, the whole time I was laughing to myself when they're advertising it. I was like, are they just going to come out and say this is Magic Smash Up? Because that's what it is. Please just come out and say it. And I guess in time it turned out that it wasn't that they didn't want to say it. It was that it never actually was that. It was just another way to get cards to players so they can get to their collection. It was never intended to be a repeatable thing. Until. So 2022 saw the release of a second theme, or a second set of Jumpstart. And I remember seeing that it was coming out. I saw like the hype. You know, it wasn't as big as the first time. The first one wasn't even that big either. But it was there, and I was like, stupid. I can't believe they messed that up. Again, messed it up for me. I have no idea how it did collectively out in the world, but messed it up in my perspective. And then this summer came about, and I was at a game store when I was on tour with the Guard Band, and I saw a Jumpstart there, and I said, you know what? If I had teeny tiny little labels, I could put them at the bottom of the cards, and I could sleeve the cards, and then I could take them apart really easily at the end of playing. And that crazy thing is exactly what I've done here. I'll use actual pictures because you're probably not gonna be able to see that very well. So at the bottom of these cards, I have these tiny labels that most of the time I can fit the name of the theme. Sometimes I have to shorten it in some way. But and then they're slightly color coded. I wish that I had done a little bit more vibrant colors, because some of them are pretty samey, but it gets the job across, especially because they might be samey, but when you add the length of the theme name and it does the job. Now, I didn't put this on the lands in the set. Instead, I have these inventory cards, which will tell you not only the name of it, what set it comes from, what lands it has in it. So again, 7 islands, 1 thriving isle, but then tokens. So if there are tokens in the theme, which for Above the Clouds there are not, but for, say, Basri, there are quite a few tokens. So this led me to the next phase of madness of this project, because I went online and I was fully ready to go just like seek out pictures of tokens and print them out, like just you know, bash them together from different sources, put them into a Google Doc of some sort and print them out as needed. And that would have been fine. In fact, that's what I've had to do for some of them because I couldn't necessarily find a 2/2 white Vigilant Knight. So I had to make some of these on my own, which I think I'm pretty happy with how some of them come out. However, link down below in the description is an incredible website that I found, MTG Proxies. And it is essentially just this like storefront where there's no money actually like transacted, but you just click on the cards you want and they just go to your cart, and then you print. You put them to PDF, and then I print them out at my Kinko's, like FedEx Kinko's, and so I have any of these themes that has like token creators, like generators of some sort. I have the tokens that they would make. So if it's something that would make one, like an instant that makes dragon fodder, makes 2 goblins. So I have 2 goblins in, you know, the dragon theme because it has that. If it's something that has like an X number, like an X number of elves that you make, or something that's repeatable, I try to guess. Usually I think my like go-to is like 5. Someone could make like a zombie every time one of your creatures dies, like an enchantment. I'm like, okay, well, I'm probably gonna need a decent amount of that. And then the last one, I just recently have these emblems because for some of the planeswalkers, when you know, hit their ultimate, they have something that sticks around, and it's better than just like kind of having the planeswalker card around to remember what it does. So like super official. And then you may have seen at the bottom, I have how many plays and how many wins the theme has. So when you're kind of putting your stuff together, you can see how it's done in the past, and the like as you play and as you experience the deck, just put tallies on there, and eventually I think these are my 3rd generation of those inventories. So I've slowly adjusted them over time, and I always update, you know, the listings. Because being such a giant nerd, I'm using it in a bigger data thing. Let me take you over the table and I can show you that next step. If you haven't noticed, and I haven't said it yet, I have started referencing this as my train table hobby. Like, I'm a board game fanatic. I have a YouTube channel that for the most part is filled with board game stuff. I am no stranger to like side projects, whether they are making storage solutions for things, making custom components, designing my own games. So I'm no stranger to that. In fact, I've talked on this site, up in the corners, I have a whole video of DBMP, Design, Build, Model, Paint, where I was starting to talk about the baby project of Project Jumpstart and how it's this growing thing. And that was several boxes ago. But I regularly track when I do stuff outside of actually like strictly playing games. So this is not a new thing to me. However, at this point, I am at 68 hours of build time on just the core set of Jumpstart. And I'll stick a pin in that, and I'll come back to just the core set at a later time. But yeah, I promise. Let's go to the table. I'm gonna show you a couple things inside these boxes. All right, so as I said, I have all these different themes. I've been keeping track of the stats because I'm a big enough nerd that I have this. So according to this most recent printing, I have 49 themes of the core Jumpstart, and then 5 themes of Dominaria United. Oh, and spoiler, 15 themes of Lord of the Rings. That's not including the other thing that I'm going to talk about. So for these, we have and I got these, they're great, just like universal. I have to cut off part of this because it's just too wide for the boxes that I got here. So I have to like trim it down, but they work great. And I label them, whether it's for that or these, or like for the different themes themselves. But yeah, so I have them by color here. So these are all the themes that I have of the core set. So if I'm going through, I can pull out exactly the colors that I want to look for the specific theme I want or whatever it may be. And then I guess I showed you I have the Dominaria United. So this was, for a time, Wizards had an idea of this is a great way to introduce some of the themes of a set that came out, because you could go into a pre-release like Jumpstart event and you could say, you know what, I'm really excited about you know, the Brothers War and playing insert like archetype here. Well, if you get the right Jumpstart themes, then you get right to the heart of it, as opposed to, say, drafting, and you might never see the cards that you want to see. Now, you also might not get the themes that you want, but it's a way of kind of like pushing you into the deep end rather than, you know, having something that you just aren't going to see. But so I started that. I have Dominaria United. I have plans to do some of the other ones, but they sort of fell off the deep end. Or that's not the phrase. It sort of dried up. The opposite of the deep end. Doesn't seem like they have plans to do more Jumpstart for future sets, aside from Lord of the Rings, which again, that's a whole nother video, because that's a whole nother project under the heading of Project Jumpstart, but slightly different. Now see, before I continue, I have this label over here. So the cards themselves are black sleeves. Any tokens that the cards have, or the themes have, are white. The blue, I've already shown you that. Those are the inventories, so people know kind of where those go back to. And then the red are the themes. So I have that up in the drafting card area. The green we'll get to in a second. That's the other part of drafting. But down here under the player cards, commanders, and that's kind of like a hazy, like translucent sleeve. Talk about that later on too. Those are not in the box, but they are definitely in my mind. So here are the other drafting cards that I've made. So now these first ones you might think, well, those are just Ravnica lands, and you would be right. And also Ravnica lands are the best, and you would be right if you thought that too. But you'll notice I have this thing here, draft deck. So mono and blue. So I have gone through and kind of customized these to be what I wanted them to be, which is a way to randomize how we play Jumpstart. So then I also have these, because I took, you know, dual land artwork. I think this is actually from Dominaria United, if I'm not mistaken. But I didn't want just like a bunch of, actually no, it's definitely not. Whatever FRF. I don't know. Sound out down below if you know FRF, what set these are from, because they're really great. I didn't just want a bunch of like the land text down here. I just wanted, like, at a glance, just immediately be like, oh, it's a green-white. So draft deck dual ally green-white, as opposed to dual enemy white-black. Then things get progressively more weird. So I have triple drafts. These last ones did not, the like green like box did not come through on this printing, so I'm going to need to do that one more time. So I had to adjust it, and this one took a little bit more like tact in, as opposed to just like splitting the mana symbols down in half. Yeah, Shards of Alara and Tarkir, Clans of Tarkir. So again, triple draft, and then quads. So the Nephilim from Ravnica with, you know, the quadrants of the mana symbols. So I went like pretty far off the deep end on like every aspect of this, but all for, you know, for good reason. So let me show you how that works. I'll show you a couple other things that are in these boxes, and then we'll go back over the chair for last couple thoughts. If you're still with me on this video, by the way, thanks for tuning in. I have been like clamoring for people to talk about this in their videos, and I've linked the other one that I've seen down below that I really enjoyed. So this is a very specific like niche within the magic niche. And so if you're here for it, I'm here for you. Also, yeah, as you can see, I'm keeping track of like the fewest plays. So the themes that either haven't ever seen play or just like need to see more of it, the plays wins of the individual colors, and also the color combos. And I do not know why these are so blurry. They don't look nearly that blurry when they're on my side until they get printed, and then they look like this garbage. So I need to figure that out, but not a huge deal. Anyways, I'm gonna do some magic and show you and show you some of the ways that we have drafted these themes. So okay, so I went through, and I'm showing you right now a spreadsheet. This is my my love language for a lot of my geeky hobbies, of different ways that you can draft this set, or this project, and with a few variables that amount to how much control you have as opposed to how much chaos you have. So for instance, like the most chaotic way to do it would just be, say, to get dealt a draft card. So blue, red, and then you go to red and you go to blue, and you are playing goblins above the clouds. Done. Which is perfectly fine, and we've done that before many times. And you just kind of like get right into the thick of it. If you are going to do that sort of low control like build, what I typically do is will shuffle these up and then give you 2. So now you have to choose, both are blue. Do you want blue black or do you want blue green? And then go from there. Now, depending on how many players I have, now that I have 49 themes, I can do this most of the time, but I have more of some colors than others. After the beginning was to kind of just like wild, of like, just collecting whatever I had, but the further I went on, the more I tried to like tailor it so I could have roughly even number of colors, which was a bummer because I had like a ton of white early on, and there are some white ones out there like vehicle that I would really love to have in here just because I think they're crazy, but I have more white than anything else, so I still need to build out the other ones. But anyways, so let's say I chose blue-green from that combination. A lot of times what I will do is then give that player 2 of each of those things. So now they have +1 and insects and think again and pirates. And then they're going to make their deck out of that. Now you'll notice I also have a little planeswalker label down there that I also printed in tiny text, and that's for the old, like, lapsed Magic players like myself. So I have Planeswalkers and Planeswalker Juniors, which I have dubbed the Planeswalkers like Obnixilis, who are just like have 1 or maybe 2 things that they can do. And then they're just like gone. So the reason I put those in there at all is because this set, and I'll come back to this at the end as well, is a fantastic way to either reintroduce or introduce, like teach for the first time, how to play Magic, because it's so low, like the barrier to entry is so low. Also, the power of these the themes is not terribly high, so you're looking at kind of the average of like a limited playing environment where decks are not super like tuned to be exactly what you want them to be. So you're kind of having to come up with lots of like tactical decisions in the moment. But anyways, other ways that we draft have been where we maybe take 1 or 2 of the triples and we say, okay, what do you want of these? White, blue, black, or red, green, white? And let's say red, green, white. Now in this case, usually we will just do 1 of each, and you say, okay, now you have these: spellcasting, ferocious, and dogs. So what are the 2? Ferocious dogs, ferocious spellcasting dogs. And depending on if we're doing it for an evening or just getting a game in, we might keep those 3 together. So you have the 2 you're playing with, and 1 is like your sideboard. So you can either trade it out if you realize that, like the 2 you chose weren't as fun as you thought they were going to be, or if you're playing like best of 3 or 5 against somebody and you play their deck, you're gonna say, this theme probably isn't gonna do great, so I'm just gonna trade out that theme for something else. Again, that's if you're kind of in it for the longer haul, which is another way to vary how this set is used. And the last thing, so obviously there's lots of different ways that we can do this. We've also played where I've just given like a prismatic like a grip of cards, and then we just actually draft them. Everybody gets 5. So Law, Teferi, Spicy, Rats, and Ferocious. So I have to look at this and I have to choose which am I keeping. I'm gonna say Teferi, and then I put that down, and then I get another 4 from the next player. And usually, this is not a law, but usually we play non-mono. So if you choose blue, if I choose Teferi, then I have to choose something that's not blue on the next one. Doesn't have to be that way, but that's kind of how we've done it. So again, lots of different ways you can draft. I found that since the decks themselves, the themes are made, the fun of this is coming up with different ways that you can combine them or randomize them. So then the last thing here that I'll talk about, and then I'll show you some of the other things in the boxes. So one of the fun ways that, again, when they were doing this for like the core sets, so the Dominaria United is the one that I have. It's a great way for you to get a taste of what's going on in that set, as we've talked about before. But there are only 5. Now, when they do it for sets, they have 19 cards, so 12 lands, 8 lands on average, 11 cards, and then the 12th spell that's added here, so the 20th card is a rare or a mythic. So when I made these, stick a pin in that too. There's lots of pins I have to unpin later on. There was a 20th card that I needed to go through the set and choose something that I thought would fit well. And to finish it out. But there are only 5. So unless you're playing with just one other person, you can divvy those out. But I was that morning playing with 4 total. So we definitely didn't have that. So what I did is for each of the Nephilim, I just using this, and because I have them organized here, I could put face down 4 random cards, and then I would assign, the one from that set in there, and I would just kind of put that and then put that back away. So essentially this time I was using it just for my edification. So I had 5 different piles. And when we picked them up, the one on the top, that's the one from Dominaria United. So you have to use that one. And then you have the other colors. So again, a prismatic grip that you get to make a deck out of. So whatever color combination you want of the cards that were dealt out to you. And it's a super fun way to get a little taste of what's going on in the set, but also bulk it out so we could have multiple people playing at one time. So other things that I have for this project, because this is a great way to reintroduce or introduce the game for the first time, I found this amazing. I'll put the link down below. It's an amazing outline of the turn, created by Zach Ryle. And yeah, it's just super clear. There's a lot going on, but there's a lot going on in Magic. This does a really good job of distilling it down to exactly what you need it to say. Then on the back, because I'm a super geek, my theme breakdowns and my rules document, because I didn't bring it this morning, but I have about 15 pages or so of every mechanic, keyword that's in any of the cards in my Jumpstart collection. And then common rules, the stack and things like that, which are in a printout. And I'll be honest, there have been times when I can't remember there's a weird one that had to do with planeswalkers. I was I don't know if I have anything for that, and it turns out I did. So the rules document for the win. And then last but not least, in this box I have, since typically for, at this point I could sustain like a 8-person tournament if I wanted, but since usually it's just like me and one other, or maybe me and the 3 friends I play before work sometimes with, I have these like baggies of some things. So we have a spin down life counter. We have 3 just D6s. I have 3 plus dice, like +1/+1 up to +6/+6, and then 3 -1/-1, which these are a lot less like necessary, but I have them. And then I have just like random bits from like a board game that I salvaged them from. So like 10 of these like thin discs and 1 big one. So there's like an important thing. I think we've all played with like coins or bits of paper or whatever. And again, like the fact that I went through and I have the actual tokens that go along with the cards themselves, which sometimes the tokens are like pretty specific. I mean, for example, I have Merit Lage, which is like, I mean, that's a big enough thing that if you actually get Merit Lage to the table, people don't need a thing to remind it, because you have the land right there, or the enchantment, or whatever, however you got under the table, people probably know what they're about. But still, it's just like part of the fun. It's like making it this unofficial yet official thing. And yeah, so I have 4 of those, and just makes it kind of nice and easy to throw down across the table, and people are just ready to go. So with that, before I'm ready to go, let's go back over there and talk about the last couple of those pins that I made. All right, so let's wrap this up. A couple of things. First off, all those 49 themes, plus the 5 from Dominaria United, plus the 15 from Lord of the Rings, plus the 10 that I'm working on for Ravnica Remastered, because that's the one I'm working on right now, and it's super friggin' cool. They are not all official printed Wizards cards. I started off that way. I started off thinking this would be something I just build on slowly over time. And that's the way I started this past summer. When I printed out the little labels, I was like, all right, I have 4. Every now and then I'll just buy a couple of boosters and it'll slowly grow. A couple of problems with that. One, it's not the most popular product in the world, so they weren't super available. I wasn't able to just like drop into any game store and pick up 1 or 2 every couple of weeks or something. And so that posed a little bit of a problem. Second, if I'm slowly accumulating for this thing that's supposed to be like a repeatable event, it was really detrimental if I ever got repeats, which I did pretty early on. And I was like, well, luck of the draw. But then I was perusing the site, the proxy site, again, link down below, because the tokens, I was just like, holy cow, all these tokens from forever. Then I was like, what are the sets up here in the like toolbar at the top? And it's every set that's ever been printed, including Jumpstart. And I was just like, because I have zero intent on getting back into Magic. I am like the thinnest like layer of water like stepped into the pool, where it's just like a puddle, not even a pool, of Commander with my game group in the morning. But I just have 2 pre-constructed decks for that, and that's it. I have no interest in making another collection. So there's no tail end to these cards. And honestly, if Wizards would have printed these out in gold borders to say like can't be used in tournaments, we're just going to make themes from like the history of Magic, add some other cards. It is completely divorced from all other sets. It's not legal at all, and therefore we can sell them for like board game prices as opposed to collectible card prices. I would be shelling out money to them on a regular basis, because they could probably put 10 themes into a box and charge you, I don't know, $15-20 for it and call it a day. Maybe even less than that. I have no idea. If it's just cards, yeah, actually definitely less than that. So I would happily be purchasing that product. However, since it's, not that. They are cards that are still legal, so you can still sell them on the secondary market. They still have value. There's also the volatility of buying collectible things where you don't know what you're actually getting. And I thought, well, if you're not really collecting them, like for the card aspect of it, maybe there's a different way. And insert the rest of the time that I've been doing Project Jumpstart. So I bought a whole box. I bought a box of boosters on the back of selling my old collection. So the singles, the ones that are actually worth money. And some of them were worth money, like Copy Artifact or whatever I think it was called. Just like ones, and that was from a deck that never even worked, but it's just old and rare and worth money. So I sold a bunch of cards, bought the first box, took out, just put all the duplicates off to the side. And from the ones that I was keeping, I went through and I searched which ones of those cards were worth money. And I sold those, and I just got the like proxies of the like rare and mythic cards. And then from that money, I bought the second box of Jumpstart and did the same thing again. And then ever since then have just been doing proxies. So if I ever want to make Dominaria United, those are all proxies minus the lands. I just bought, a bulk of random lands plus the ones that I had. And all the cards, I'm actually at the level now where I need to purchase just like random cards to have for the backs of my proxies, because my collection is now the backbone of Project Jumpstart. So it has found a new life and some of the cards are like not just like junk old like slop cards, and some are like cards I have memories of or like pretty decent cards, but that's what I'm saying. I don't really care. I got the ones that are worth money out of there to fund for the majority of this. Now I'm a little above water now, but I'm several hundreds of dollars into this. I think 500 is the last time I saw it, but I have bankrolled over 400 of it with selling either my old cards, singles from the themes themselves, or just like I've sold themes, the duplicate themes, just like in bulk on something. So I've sold a lot of, so I'm under $100 for this over $500 collection, and a lot of that is like the boxes, the sleeves, the components, just the printing. Like, I mean, I can get a 9 cards on one sheet of paper is 60 cents at Kinko's. So I can get, I only need 12 cards in per theme, because the other 8 are lands, which I have the actual copies of those. So I can get 2 themes worth of cards out of 3 pages, less than that actually. And hold on, I can get 3 themes out of 4 pages. There it is. So that's two less than $3. I can get 3 themes worth printed. Now that is not counting the sleeves and the cards behind them and everything else. But yeah, it's this long, slowly building out process that is at this point, definitely at least half proxies, which I'm perfectly fine with, because they're really high quality. Like that, the site is insane. And the quality is ridiculous. Printing them at FedEx as opposed to like trying to have my own printer, which I've tried and failed multiple times. Printers are just terrible. They look like cards, and for what we're using them for here, they don't need to. I haven't. A bunch of like the corners still have a little white thing for the cut marks that I haven't gone back and trimmed, because it's the same reason I haven't put little labels on every land, because it would be insane. And I don't really care. They have the effect of the Magic cards without me having to shell out the money for them. And the set itself, it has the effect of playing Magic without having to like be in Magic, which hilariously I have gotten like the backdoor way to deck building again. Again, this is why it's going to be its own video, because the Lord of the Rings had not 5, but had 10 themes, 2 of each color. But then when I was going through and making it, I realized there was like another path for each color that just wasn't tapped out by like either of the themes. And so I started making a third theme for each color. So now I will have 15 total themes for Lord of the Rings, which then led to Ravnica, which I'm working on right now, where I'm just making each of the 10 guilds whole cloth. Like, I am making them myself. So those will be their own videos because this is already super long. So yeah, Jumpstart, I'm just here to tell you, whether you want to do it with actual cards, just find a box and sell off, or like put the duplicates into your collection and just like have a collection of them. You don't have to go nearly as deep as I have. It in fact can be like a really easy, simple thing to get into, and just a little bit of storage kind of know-how. You can have it in a nice little like small deck box with your 10 themes that you and a buddy can kind of mix and match and go to town with, and it's a ton of fun. Again, underpowered and lots of like the little tit for tat, like tactical trading, but that's what I really loved about Magic most anyways. I was never the highest power player. So yeah, this is my super long-winded video that again has been a long time coming, because I've been building this out since July of 2023. It is almost February of 2024 now, and it's over almost 70 hours of building, 16 hours so far of game time, and that's just the core set. That's not including Ravnica or Lord of the Rings, which I'm tracking that time separately. So again, different videos for those at a different time. Thanks for being here. Holy goodness. Thanks for taking a pause with Give Pause, and I will see you next time, whether it's for Magic or for Old Lady Kate or for other board games or whatever it may be. Have a great Friday.